Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are here with the way too early top 10 catcher list for this 2024 MLB season. And I'm here with the premier ranker, the guy who I just cannot get enough of because he is my boss, Mr. Joe Bond. Mr. Joe, thank you so much for joining us because these are your rankings. Thank you for defending them.
Yeah, man. It's fun to do. It's sometimes. So yeah, man. Glad to be here. Let's get on with the catcher position. I think we got a couple things to say first, though.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. I just wanted you. I mean, look, you know how excited we are to talk about the premier position about catchers. This is up there with me talking about, the Pirates last offseason before they, of course, shocked everybody with that fast run. But before we get into how excited I am about the catcher position, come on down to Fantasy Six Pack and become a subscriber today. Fantasy Six Pack allows you to become a subscriber and interact with Joe, myself, and all of our writers on our Discord. That's one of my favorite things to do, especially when people ask me all types of great questions like, hey, here's my entire roster, make it suck less, or, all these other things. But look, honestly, we've had
call me out, man.
We have all kinds of great questions that come in, but we do have people that really want us to dive deep. And look, we're nerds about this. We love doing that. And as you see with the promo code there, put that in now for 15% off and become an all-access subscriber as well. The other thing definitely that I've been doing a lot of is look at starting your league or moving your league to Fantrax. I have an incredibly deep league that has been running for 10 plus years. And I finally got them to come over to Fantrax. We've been paying $100+ on another site and have barely the right amount of tools considering we're like K per 9. We have to do keepers and it's AL only. And it's a whole bunch of different things. And getting these people to move, it was hard. And they came out of Fantrax and they couldn't believe the support. We were getting, emails responded to within a couple hours. And they listen to suggestions, and it's kind of a breath of fresh air. I really love Fantrax, and it's something that I don't mind promoting because I actually use the heck out of it. I think.
Absolutely. And look, especially if you're in dynasty leagues, you have to play on Fantrax. The player pool is massively large. It's so good.
And if you find somebody that's not on there, you can email support, and it almost seems like next day. I've only found it one time, and that was because of an international free agent that was kind of there, not there.
Yeah.
And they had him next day. It was phenomenal. So great support. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Mr. Bond, I'm excited. So excited. Can you not tell how my excitement because of my excitement?
Catchers. Wear my O's gear because that might be giving something away, but. So we're so excited to talk about the top 10 catchers, and we're going to be doing this a little bit differently than we did. If you saw our top first basemen, we were going to do a David Letterman top 10 list. we played a lot. We played a lot with the top 10 list. Yes,
man, I'm old, man. I
loved those, dude.
I got gray. I got gray in my beard. But yeah, we're gonna go through, and we played with as much as possible of the transition that we could with this font. So before we kick off the top 10, before we kick off the top 10. Which you can see right now, of course, on fantasy6pack.net. I have to ask a couple questions on the people outside the top 10, Joe. And let's start off with the person who everybody kind of gets confused with his brother. I'm not going to say that I haven't almost accidentally drafted him. That would be a bad thing. But Wilson Contreras didn't make your list. His brother did. Where was he ranked? Did he just squeak outside the top 10?
Oh crap! Did I rank the wrong one? No, just kidding.
Quick!
Play it off your joke. Yeah, man. Like, God, it was such a weird year for Wilson Contreras.
You had to check again.
I had to double check I was saying the right name. He started off miserably, and they weren't playing him as much. And even in the second half, like, that was one of the things that really got me, was he was losing playing time because he was so bad defensively. His bat wasn't like backing it up, right? So
he's batting 240 in the first half. The power came back in the second half, and his average did. So, I think I'm looking for maybe a bit of a bounce back as more of like an overall season this year. I don't think the average is going to be as bad as 240 in the first half, but the power is probably going to be right about where it is. We mentioned this with the first base, like the Cardinals were sort of a mess, and I mean Contreras was not helping any of that. So
No.
I think a little bit of a bounce back, but I mean the worry is there, and if he's going to lose playing time, that's going to knock you down my catcher rankings list pretty quickly. You're going to see that theme here in the next few minutes.
So the other two darlings of the offseason last year, because some people wrote how great Alejandro Kirk would be in OBP leagues, this guy. And I messed that up. And so Alejandro Kirk and Danny Jansen, right? We all expected that to be a 1-2 combination. And basically that didn't work out. But, I don't see them, being your top 10, but, especially in OBP, we all thought Alejandro Kirk, he just doesn't play as much anymore. Where did you have those two guys ranked? Way outside?
No, yeah, my early ranks actually had Kirk and Jansen honestly down around the like 18, 19 range. You could argue, a couple spots higher if you really want to, but they split time quite a bit. And so that's a big detriment to them, as far as, when you're drafting a catcher, I want somebody who's going to play 130 plus games, right?
There it is. Right. Yep.
Like I like you could be a better player than somebody in the top 10. But if you only play half as many games, it doesn't matter.
And that's the thing, it's always been like stream your catchers. And I'll be honest with you, midway through the season, it becomes such a dumpster fire if you decide to do that.
Yes.
I mean, you're looking at it, like, okay.
2 catcher leagues.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Like, look, do I get the guy with the 214 batting average or the guy with the 225 batting average?
I still to this day do not understand 2 catcher leagues. And I know we're going to lose people. People are going to yell at me. Why are you talking football? That's like playing in the 2 tight end league. Stop it. Just stop it.
Well, actually, let's just take it a step further. It's like it's like playing in a 2 middle reliever league. I mean, it's mean. It
doesn't make any sense. There's not that. I get it. There's 30 teams. They should all be like, no, you don't want the 25th catcher playing for you. Like, it's bad.
It's the strategy, Joe. It's the strategy. If you're really deep and you're doing it every day, look, I love baseball. I love it with a passion, but you lose me sometimes. Like, I will watch the heck out of baseball, but if I have to find the guy who's, forget it.
It's supposed to be fantasy. It's supposed to be more fun than
yes.
Real
thank
baseball.
you.
It's supposed to be offense, boom, explosion.
Right.
Like, let's just have fun with it.
No. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And then one last one, because he saved so many of my teams on the waiver wire. Jonah Heim. Where do you have Mr. Ranger himself? Of course, this is a joke.
Right outside the top 10. If this were a top 12 list, he'd be in it. Heim is what, man? Talk about the tale of 2 seasons with him, like kind of the opposite of Contreras, right?
Right.
We saw him explode. If I'm remembering correctly, he was the starting all-star catcher for the AL.
Right.
Over somebody. And so, 12 bombs in the first half, was batting near 300. Man, it just stopped working in the second half. 217 batting average, 6 bombs the rest of the way.
Right.
That we know how good that offense can be, but
yeah,
that's you went in the wrong direction pretty badly and like if it had just been like a slight dip, one thing, but I mean that was a massive drop off. He was basically unusable in the second half.
Yeah, and that's the thing with catchers. Again, right? The other part, we worry about playing time. And the other thing is it's such a demanding position. And that's why we were so excited about Alejandro Kirk, right? He's going to DH more. And then he, of course, got hurt. But they get, catchers get hurt. They wear out because it's the demanding position. They have to pop up and throw out, runners and all this crazy stuff that they do. You have to remember how to, call a game. And I think that's a lot of what Jonah Heim happened as well. I mean, the guy was focusing on not messing up with the pitchers, and also calling the game. And there's all this other stuff he has to worry about. I think he's going to do a lot more this next season. There's so much talent there. But at the same time, you have to expect it with catchers, except for one of them who obviously we keep referring to there at the end there. So
there's a couple of guys who play a lot, but
I know. I just was playing off the fact that we have it there at the end. So I'm going to put the little ticker there, and Mr. Letterman himself, Mr. Joe Bond, do you want to kick off your top 10 list?
All right.
Francisco Alvarez. Oh my goodness. Let's welcome Francisco Alvarez to the stage.
Like your best friend, man.
I know.
Love this guy.
Let's look at Ben Yole's tweet here, because if you have a picture of Francisco Alvarez in your head, you kind of think of a little, like maybe a little extra real estate there in the abdominal area. He as Ben says, he looks like he's in the best shape of his life, and he might. I mean, he's almost like a two-light. Yeah, you did. And I'm going to ignore that. He's 22 years old. I mean, we've been talking about this guy. I feel like we've been talking about him for like 2 decades. I mean, he's been out for a while.
Yeah.
17 when he started with the Mets. And 123 games. Again, there's a lot of things here where you play fantasy for so long, throughout a season, you forget how long some of these guys played. And again, if you would have put my feet to the fire and said, how many games did Alvarez play last year? I'd have been like, 110, 115, maybe. 123, I was really amazed by. 400 plate appearances. Of course, the bombs we knew about, the 25 home runs. But again, those are the kind of things that I wasn't expecting when I reviewed, right? When I reviewed the numbers from last year. What do you have him at number 10 there, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, so my quick take on him is, look, we know the power is legit. If he could get 600 plate appearances, I have no doubt he'd be hitting 35, possibly 40 bombs. Like, he's that good. The problem is he's not very good defensively, so he loses time there. And they don't DH him because the Mets are deep, and they just don't, they've got a deep lineup, and so he just doesn't get the plate appearances that some of these other top catchers get. The average isn't going to be good. He strikes out quite a bit. Not as bad as I kind of thought, but we could see that go the other way too. But you want power, and you're drafting a catcher late. He's a guy that you can go. He's just got to fit your team, right? Because it's going to be a bit of a batting average drain.
Yeah, I mean, his hard hit rate was amazing, right? 44%. But an expected batting average at 208. I mean, that's not yikes. Yeah, that's not good.
You've got to build a batting average base.
Right.
Pretty good when you draft somebody like him.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, too, I think it's kind of funny when you said Mets are deep. You're right. They are deep. And at the same time, you're like, they're so deep. Why did they stink so bad? But at the same time, if they somehow find exactly. But at the same time, if he starts DHing, Francisco Alvarez is somebody that you draft, but also you can always draft and kind of keep as maybe your second catcher. Please don't do that. But if you did, he's somebody you could definitely also, if he starts showing any of that promise, if he starts showing that he's getting more plate appearances, definitely pick him up or trade him for somebody who's not paying attention and grab him right away. But he's definitely somebody I would be targeting later. And totally agree with you there, Joe. All right, who's number 9?
All right, next up.
Sorry, these transitions are killing me.
Flashbacks of like 1995 Power Fight.
Oh, God.
Love it.
Oh my God! All right, go ahead, sir. Yeah, Keibert, Ruiz. Love me some Keibert. But let's do a little fun game here. Which catcher do you prefer? Yep, I got you here, jerk face. Which catcher do you prefer? Your super projections. I'm going to just go over, and this is in January, right? 272 average, 20 home runs, 89 runs, and some stolen bases. 273 average, 24 home runs, 85 runs scored, and some stolen bases. Or the 270 average, 18 home runs, 61 runs scored. And we have a 48, 72 ADP, and 163. Who are you preferring off that list? Quick. If not, I shoot the puppy.
I mean, it's going to be the second guy.
The second guy. Okay.
He's got more of just about everything.
All right. You want me to reveal who A, B, and C are? It's
I don't know
A.
who they are, but go ahead.
It's well, I know you know. Adley Rutschman is number 1. Number 2 is William Contreras, and number C is Keibert Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a little bit of a drop off in runs, a little bit of drop off in RBIs, and a big drop off in ADP. You can almost
the
hold
ADP
out.
gets you though, so yeah, it's a trade off, but yeah. Look, I think that kind of goes right into what I was about to say about Keibert Ruiz, and he's a well-rounded catcher. He's not going to win you any categories, but he's not going to hurt you in any categories. Like, he's not giving you 80 to 90 RBIs or runs, right? The Nationals aren't good enough to let him do that.
Right.
His batting average isn't going to hurt you. It's not going to be much better than anybody else's in the top elite. The power is not going to be quite there with those other guys. So, yeah, you get a bit of a discount for somebody who is a discount Adley Rutschman. Like, that's exactly what he comes in as. So,
wow. I think we've called people way worse than discount Adley Rutschman. I mean, I would like to be called discount Adley Rutschman, but to go from somebody, previously with Francisco to somebody here now hitting, 10% K rate, and the walk rate is going to kind of kill you there. But a 263.08 last year, that's something that you can just leave in your lineup. And obviously, depending on how you build it, obviously it's important, but somebody who can just sit there and it's not going to be a detriment.
Right. And sometimes that's what you needed to catcher position, right? Unless you paid up for it. I personally don't draft the Alvarez catchers because I've done it, and man, it sucks, man, when they go on those like 0 for 30 40 like streaks and like there's no bombs. You're like, man, you're not even giving me home runs. Ruiz also, like, I put this stat in my article, he was one of 9 catchers last year who were able to accrue over 500 plate appearances. Availability at the catcher position, again, part of my theme of ranking these guys, is a big factor.
Yeah, and at the same time too, if you can't think of who that second catcher is, that's a good thing. Going back to the Blue Jay situation, right? I can name the 2 catchers.
Yes.
If you can't kind of name that guy, well, unless you're a complete sad head like Joe and I are, then that lets you know that he's probably pretty safe there as well. Again, I think Keibert's one of those guys that is not going to be phenomenal by any means. He might have a hot streak, he might have a cold streak, but he's going to just be there, set it, forget it, be done with it if that's how you're going to draft. And honestly, again, going back to how I draft catchers, if I'm not getting one of the top 2 guys, depending on how, again, the league and all that fun stuff, and hopefully not a 2-catcher league, Keibert's going to be a guy I'm going to be kind of targeting because I don't want to go in the first 100 or so picks with any type of catcher situation. All right, sir. Number 8.
All right, drum roll. No. That was a sad transition.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no spin, no pinwheel.
Slide. Come on, it didn't like flash.
I mean, I guess. So Yainer Diaz. I mean, let's just that's loud. Yainer Diaz is somebody who is going to play for the Astros. I mean, let's just leave it at that. But here's the thing that I love about it, and Jules Hugan really kind of hits on it. He can catch and he can bat. Going to the promised land here of what we really want. We want somebody who's both catching and hitting, because that's really important with catchers. If they can't frame, if they can't throw batters out, they quickly lose playing time. I don't care how well they hit, especially, if you go back to like a Met situation. Now, Francisco Alvarez can absolutely throw people out. He's got a cannon. But I'm just saying that if somebody is failing in the catching area, if they're not framing the pitches, if they're not doing those things, they lose playing time. And Yainer Diaz can absolutely do both. And with the expected batting average, going to kind of hit you here quickly, Joe, but 288, slugging at 543, and a WAR of 2.5 plus. If you have a chance, check out this tweet. I'll have it linked. It's great to watch both. I watched it on loop way too many times. Jules putting up some of the good content there. All right. Tell me what I should be expecting here.
Look, my quick take on him was, he had an amazing season in just 104 games played last year. He was one of the best catchers in, and he played a far less number of games than a lot of the top guys. And Could he do it again? Sure. Is he a full-time guy over there behind the plate? Probably not. But he did DH a fair bit last year, so there's always that. Like, they tried to get his bat in there. I worry though that his like 2.9% walk rate really is bad. Like, he's got to learn to take a pitch. Otherwise, I kind of think maybe the batting average will suffer. I know you don't usually look at like K rate, and that's pretty decent for him. But like, if he can't learn to take a pitch and learn to walk too, like, they're just going to start finding the zones that he can't hit. And I mean, pitchers are too good. They're going to figure him out. So he's got to learn to like stay off of stuff and walk a little more in order for his batting average to sustain at such a high rate there. So, but yeah, he's a good catcher. I wouldn't be shocked if we're talking about him in like a top 5 next season. Right. Like he's got that potential, but there are risks this year with him.
So the plus and minuses, right? The fact he's with one of the best organizations out there, especially for developing players. The second thing is if he starts getting to a long cold streak, the Astros are too deep of an organization, too good of an organization to let you kind of figure that out in the majors. I'm wondering how much leash he gets if he gets on a cold streak. And when somebody has almost a 3% walk rate and a 20% K rate, like you said, that is not a lot of wiggle room there. No. You kind of have to figure it out very quickly. If as pitchers adjust, you have to adjust as well. Now, I do like to look at the Streamer, and Streamer has him at 22 home runs, but the difference is almost 60 more at bats with about 70 more plate appearances. So it's going to take him a lot longer to get those numbers. And at the same time, like you said, I mean, those numbers last year were phenomenal, but I can't believe he pulled that off in the short amount of time that he did.
Yeah, the numbers are pretty crazy. So
yeah. So definitely expecting some good things there. And if you can get an Astro, it's great, but hopefully you can get him where he's on the upswing there and figures out that walking bit. All right, number 7, sir.
All right. Cal Raleigh.
All right. The thing about Cal Raleigh, when I saw this, is Cal Raleigh was typically the catcher I'd grab last, right? Like I was always like, Cal Raleigh was always like the guy where I was like, hey, Cal Raleigh's still there. Let me grab him. And then you start looking at his stats and you're like, oh, he's actually really good. I didn't, yes, I knew he was good, but it was one of those situations where I'm like, I still need a catcher. Let me grab Cal Raleigh. Why do you have Cal Raleigh at number 7 here?
He's Francisco Alvarez with the plate appearances.
Love that.
And I'm done.
Can you?
Am I wrong? Wrong?
You know what? The reason I'm laughing is it's so right, and I didn't even think about that, and I hate you because typically I'm the one that comes up with some cool stuff like that. You jerk. But here's what I wanted to point out to you, because typically I'm always like, here's one tweet, blah, blah, blah. So if you look up Cal Raleigh on Twitter, and I don't just grab the first tweet. I know some of you think I'm just not that creative. If you start going through, here's a baseball card, here's something about framing, here's something about not attempting to steal, here's some stuff about, catchers. Most stealing runners caught most stealing runners. Here's somebody's face, and then more baseball cards. There is like nothing I could find. MLB Network's top 10. Cal Raleigh's number 9. It's just it was so hard to find anything about Cal Raleigh, and I was like, that's Cal Raleigh in a nutshell for me. Where it's like he hit the ball, and then you're like, wait a minute, let me look at the stats last year. He had 30 home runs. That sums up Cal Raleigh for me, in the sense that you can get this terrible batting average, okay OBP, 300 OP, and this massive power, but oh my God, those cold streaks. Oh my God, those cold streaks are so bad. But you forget about how great that power is. But again, going to kind of the difference between some other players that we just talked about in this one, he had over 550 plate appearances to get those 30 home runs. So, and that's what you expect with him. But it's year 27 season. We all know that year 27 season is such a big one, and kind of helping the contracts and everything out. What are we expecting here, Joe? You expect a big kind of takeoff? You expect another 550 plus plate appearances?
kind of think we're going to get much of the same. It's going to be a 230-ish average at best, around 30 home runs. That's who he is. It looks like, he had that crazy pace of like home runs in 2022 where he hit 27 home runs and 370 at bats.
Yeah,
that's not happening again. So
what?
That's very unreal. Like, we just don't see that kind of pace. So, I mean, you're talking like Aaron Judge type home run pace, if not better. So don't expect that. But it again, he's another one of those, like, if you really just want power from your catcher position and you can eat the average drain, then him and Alvarez are your guys. He just will play more, so he's going to probably hit more run and RBI than everybody else. And you don't have to worry about those, like, especially in head-to-head leagues, right? Where, like, if Alvarez sits 3 games that week, you're not being like, oh crap,
Well, I just want to make sure you heard it here first, people. Joe Bond basically said Cal Riley is the Aaron Judge of the catcher position, and we'll give you the same type of numbers. So I just want to make sure everybody heard that, because I am just putting that as a note. I'm going to make sure to put that on our video. Cal Riley equals Aaron Judge. Got it.
Is there like a fantasy receipts of fantasy baseball that's going to come back to haunt me?
I don't see why it would. It's so obvious that that's exactly what we should be doing.
Yeah,
anyways, Cal Riley, Aaron Judge, whatever, same diff. Okay, so number 6, Joe. What do we got?
Right,
Gabriel Moreno. All right. I mean, without even going into anything else, real quick, his postseason this past postseason, 4 home runs in 1 series. I mean, he was surging. I mean, he's already surging. Aram Layton talks about it here. And this is back in September 21st, right before the postseason kicked off. Big reason why the Diamondbacks are surging Gabriel Moreno last 30 games. 159 WRC plus with 11 extra base hits, 15 K rate with a 9 walk percentage. And this is the best part. Oh, he's just hitting offense. No, he hasn't thrown out a ridiculous 41% of attempted base stealers this season, qualifies him as more than 10% minimum, 100%. I mean, that's just nuts. The guy is getting it done on both sides, and he got just kind of forgotten about because he was with the Blue Jays there, and behind again the Alejandro Kirk, Danny Jansen, Bermuda Triangle there for a while in 2022. Thank God he got traded. Really kind of had a slow start, I would say, with the Diamondbacks, and then just started showing out. And people didn't realize, even doing that slow start, he was doing an incredible job framing, calling games, throwing out base runners. And that's why he kept getting playing time. And then he took off. And I think it was his crowning achievement was what he did there in September. And then again, the postseason, he just had a showing out party. Gabriel Moreno definitely came out. And I love to see it because I had a lot of shares in him in Dynasty. 380 plate appearances. I did not expect that. I mean, I was expecting like he was at 300-ish, but 380 was definitely not what I was expecting, kind of looking back on it. So, Joe, talk me through it.
Yeah, I just think, they've moved on from Carson Kelly. Moreno's going to be the guy behind the plate, for a vast majority. So, some of his counting stats were down because he was having to work in with Kelly. And, we saw kind of the late season surge. Now, it doesn't have the power of some of these guys behind him yet. I kind of think that can come. Batting average, I mean, he's just got a really good bat the ball skill. Like he can hit the ball. He's going to hit for a high average. And that, I like to see guys like that. It's easier for me to project guys who just have good plate approach and can just have good contact skills. I have a better feeling of them being able to trend upwards than somebody like a Cal Raleigh or Francisco Alvarez, who rely on the few times they make contact, it mattering, right? More often than Moreno. Moreno's going to hit the ball and make contact more often. So get me somebody like that who is growing and is younger. And,
right.
I know Alvarez is younger too, but I'm saying like over like a Cal Raleigh, right?
Right.
And can just, it's just going to improve. And we saw it like in the postseason, just kind of, just everything was going in the right direction.
Right.
So
here's, and I think the thing about this, though, right, is where we talked about Cal Riley, where, he won't hurt you in the stats. I mean, on ratio stats, Gabriel Moreno is going to help you. Not hurt, quite the opposite. 285, 348 average in OBP. The home runs, look, you can get home runs pretty much anywhere. Cal Riley being Aaron Judge, I know that we said that earlier with Joe Bond, but, Gabriel Moreno's 12 is not going to kill you. But the runs and RBS, I think that's going to come up even higher than that. I know 60 and 60 is kind of where we have them, but the Diamondbacks, when you have, Corbin Carroll, when you have these I wouldn't say speedsters, I think you're going to have a lot more opportunities there as well, the more he gets to get his at-bats as well. So as long as he's not sharing his plate appearances, when he gets to 130 games, I think you're going to have a lot more of an uptick there.
I think you're going to see some adjustments. Like, he's got a very extreme ground ball to fly ball ratio, 2.48. You don't see that very often.
Yep.
I think he's going to correct that, right?
Yep.
You're going to see him get a little more lift. They're going to work on his swing, and that's where you're going to see a bit more power come. I could easily see him go over the 12 projection mark of home runs, like, especially if he can get an extra 100, 150 more plate appearances. I don't see how he doesn't hit 12 and more.
The only thing is, I would easily consider Gabriel Moreno a top 5 catcher until I started looking. I'm obviously teasing here, but when I see who the next 5 are, I'm like, who do I kick out?
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of hard. So let's get into your top 5 here, Joe. Salvador Perez, who I believe this year is 57 years old.
I was going to say the same kind of thing. That's fantastic.
I mean,
we did not talk about what we were going to say before the show.
I think Salvador Perez, I think it's one of those things where, it's not cute anymore. It's not the name, right? But I think Frank Amarante, I think it's great because he goes, with young catchers like Logan Hope, Gabriel Moreno, Francisco Alvarez emerging, people have gotten bored of Salvador Perez, but he still hit 23 home runs and 580 plate appearances last season, and he gets projected at 583 plate appearances this year. If you're talking about somebody who is, going to get those plate appearances again, and the very first comment there below is the injury profile, right? When you talk about catchers, injuries is a big deal, and Salvador Perez being 172 years old is kind of a big deal.
50 to 172.
Well, look.
Fast.
Well, he's aging in
Tamagotchi.
Yeah, he's aging in catcher years. As your daughter's Yamagaki says, she has that catcher Tamagotchi. You look down and in an hour, any catcher ages 100 years. But 34 years old, that's first thing, right? If you didn't look at that, I would have guessed late 30s. He's been around for so long. But, he gets to kind of, I think they start managing that playing time a little bit more. But if anybody is drafting him thinking they're getting the 2021 season, they're nuts. There's no way he's going back to those 40 plus home runs. I just think that's insane. But we know who he is. So, Joe, who is he?
I mean, you're looking at it, man. You're going to get mid 20 home run power. You're going to get a 250 to 260 average at this point. You're going to get a guy who plays a lot. He may not be behind the plate, but they put him at DH. They put him at first. Right. They want his bat in this lineup. They don't have a lot, so they have to, right? Like, they can't be like, we're good without you today. No, the Royals, I'm sorry. I know they got a couple of really good players, but they're still not very good. So they need Perez in that lineup.
Again, the veteran leadership can't be understated because the fact that he is one of the few veterans there, and he's the keystone of that entire team. He makes it go. They're going to put him in that lineup somewhere. I still think they need to try him out at shortstop and relief pitcher, but they're not the Tampa Bay Rays, so they're going to not. He's got range, man. That speed that he has with his 0 stolen bases. But I think the thing is, you're at. Jump on, if he is still there, what pick range are we looking at here? If he's still there in the late 70s, 80s, depending on how your roster set up, I'm jumping on that because I don't want to have to mess with catcher. I've talked about it before. Set, forget. Yes, the average is 20 points lower than where we were a minute ago.
His ADP is not that high. His ADP is in the 140s.
140s, even better. Okay, so sorry. I say 70. Thank you. You can see, this is an early show. I'm still trying to figure out where everybody is. I apologize, but yeah, if he's past 120, I'm sorry, I said 70, 80. My God, see, fantasy receipts kill me right there. But if he's at that 120 mark, I'm grabbing him, and I'm not gonna look back. I would rather have him over Cal Riley just because of that possible home run output. And again, set and forget, right? Gabriel Moreno. I would love to have that average OVP, situation here, but again, it's Salvador Perez. I don't have to worry about the kind of.
You just have to. The
cold streaks,
the injury concern. That is
that's the big one.
A major factor in why he goes later in drafts. People are definitely afraid of that, and I get it. I've had him in seasons where he plays the whole year. I had him in 2021 because everybody was like, "Oh, I'm away," and he was like free. Like I got him super late that year, and I was like, "I'll take him." Can't be that bad. 48 home runs. I was like, thank you. And then I had him in 2022. Played 114 games, and I was like, ugh. But anyway, we should move on.
All right. Number 4, JT Realmuto. So we go from somebody who I couldn't find a lot of stats on to somebody who obviously has a ton of stats on Twitter. JT Realmuto. But I wanted to be a little bit jokey with this because the real reason why we ranked him this high is because of his speed. Let's be honest. He's going to steal bases. And I want to show you this because, let's be honest. The fact that he could steal home, this just shows you his speed. Look at this. Look at that. Oh my God. Third to home in what, 2.4 seconds? Do you want to say 2.5 seconds? It's probably the fastest I've ever seen, but it's not even close. 94 stolen bases.
Did he the catcher afterwards?
Yeah, he did.
He stands over top of him.
No. I think he was saying, "Are you all right?" Please don't get
like
Philly.
It better my way.
Yeah, but we're not getting Philly fans after me. I'd rather get receipts guy after me than Philly fans any day of the week. No, he's definitely saying, "Are you okay? I love you, bro. For the love of God, don't get us in trouble with the Philly fans." City of everybody there can kick my butt. So last year, he hit 20 home runs though, and that the reason I bring that up is because the way he was being drafted last year was a top 3 catcher, and everybody's like, "Oh, his home runs. It's going to bounce back." I think we're at a point where we kind of know where he is now. 17, 22, 20, and Streamer has him at 18.
22 was the second most he's ever hit. What was it bouncing back to?
You wouldn't believe. I don't want to fantasy receipt people, but people were thinking 25 plus home runs. It's a lot of people.
I had him as the number 1 catcher last year, to be fair. But when you're coming off a 2020 season, 20 home runs and 20 steals, and at the 275 average as a catcher, I was all in again. Like, you knew he was going to play, and that's kind of the same story, right? He could still go 2020. Maybe we get 2015. The batting average dropped a little bit. That whole offense was sort of weird early on. It wasn't as good. And then Harper came back and everything kind of took off. And so it did also for Realmuto. The average drop does concern me. He started striking out a little bit more, especially from the 2022 season. His hard hit rate started dropping. It dropped a little bit. Does it bounce back? It hard to say. It could just be age, wear and tear. That happens with catchers. We're seeing. You see this happen with guys that have played as much as he has.
Right.
But he's going to be on the field. They're going to find a way to get his bat in that lineup. And look, a catcher who can get you steals, that's just
it's not gonna, man. Yes, it's not going to hurt.
That's pretty damn good.
The biggest concern I had was the 30-point drop in OBP. We're talking about 3 seasons of 240-ish, and then suddenly 310. Sorry, I said 240, 340, and then all the way to 310. That's not nothing. That shows something's going on there, and it's not a walk rate issue, right? He only drops 1% in his walk rate. It's
it's all average and batted ball profile at this point. So
right.
You got to look into that, and and so the projections are accounting for that.
Right.
They're actually accounting him to have like the exact same averages last year. I would maybe say that bounces back a little bit, but I don't think it's going to bounce back drastically. I mean, he's 32. He'll be 33 by the time the season starts. Just you look at games played, he's way up there. I mean, Sal Perez range type every single season. So,
Sal Perez range. I love it.
I mean, you look at what Sal Perez. That's why I loved Sal Perez, man. He was like the Iron Man behind the plate. Like,
no. I just love that, Sal Perez needs to have that kind of love. I mean, just like, we said that Cal Riley is going to be Aaron Judge behind the plate. I think the fact that we can, say these types of things, I'm kidding. Anyways. Okay. So, we are drafting that gentleman, and then suddenly we get to getting jiggy with it. That tells you how old I am. Mr. Will Smith himself. And I'm not even going to do tweets. I'm not even. I'm sorry. Yeah, don't please. I could also Will Smith slap you at this point.
Oh man.
Oh wow. We have to go from his highs to his lows. All right. So I'm not doing tweets on this next three guys because I think we know who we got here. But Will Smith, age 28 season with the Dodgers, and the Dodgers only are going to continue to add players. So he's going to have chances for runs, RBIs. And he's getting a ton of plate appearances, over 500, 3 years in a row. I mean, this is a guy, of course, if you get him, you could set and forget, no problem. I did not look up his ADP, but I'm totally happy with Will Smith. The only problem I have, and if you're in a daily league, you know this about Will Smith, there are some long cold streaks. There are some definite, seems like cold streaks. The end of the season numbers look great, but God, those cold streaks where you're like, really? We haven't got a hit in a couple of games. This is not fun.
It's June last year, man. He batted 230. That was a brutal stretch. In September, 203.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I remember both those months very well. Thank you.
I still think just not a whole lot to say here. Just plug and play catcher. The Dodgers are loaded, as we know, and of course, he's not quite Realmuto. He can. He'll get you 3, 4, 5 steals, whatever, I guess. But he's younger, right, than Realmuto and Perez, and so you can hope that maybe like he's not on the decline a little bit, like you would think with those guys. So that's why he ranks, ahead of them.
Yep. But the consistency though,
so close though.
But let's talk about this consistency. It's crazy to me, right? The last 3 years with Will Smith, 258 average, 260, and then 261. I mean, that's nuts considering, he's had 130 games almost every of those seasons. To be within a point on average is amazing. And like you said, the consistency is such a key thing here. Yeah, great. We're getting 20 home runs. And again, if you've built your roster where the catcher position is going to make or break your home runs, then we need to have a long talk about how you built your roster. But getting 20 home runs chipped in, along with those, 75 plus RBIs is huge. And again, you're going to be getting that with Will Smith. You just kind of have to ignore those long cold stretches as well. But in the end, you're getting almost a 350 OBP. I'll take that any day of the week from the catcher position.
Who was it that had the same batting average like 3 years in a row?
Yeah.
I can't remember who that was.
Oh, God.
Long ago.
Oh, you jerk face. Of course. Now I'm going to have to look it up. Oh, God. Who is it? Because I had him. Chris Davis. That's what it was. 240. I knew it was. You had the freaking ball, and you have the Orioles hat on.
No, the other Chris Davis. It was Chris Davis with the K.
Oh, it's the K, right?
You gotta get me. It was your Chris Davis, not mine.
You're right.
Yeah, it was like 242, wasn't it?
Yeah, 247 average for 4 years.
And I feel like, yeah. And everybody's like, well, we know what we're gonna get, and then it was like, oh wait,
and then the year we all just like we're just mocking him like, oh, it's 247, forget it.
Then it was 220, and then it was
20 like 198 or something stupid, and I was like, okay, yeah, we suck.
No, it was 1, 2, 3, 4 years in a row. Holy cow!
Yep, 4 years in a row.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and
when you say you're getting consistency, I was like, oh, he's the catcher, Chris Davis.
And one of the first times he made a metaphor that actually made sense. But yeah, that's great. No, I'm kidding. Aaron Judge, ready that Calmer Raleigh. Okay, good. No problem. All right.
I hate you.
Moving on. All right. So where are we at now? William Contreras. It's not the same as Wilson Contreras. Yes. So why would his parents do that to us? W-I in both of them.
Can I just pair both these guys together?
Sure.
We're going to do number one. So we're going to do number one here. These guys were this close. And I swear I had no reason other than I think he's actually better to put Adley Rutschman over Contreras. I swear I had nothing that would have caused me to put Rutschman over Contreras as I play with my Orioles hat.
I love how you had to say it verbally because you were being so subtle about it. But go ahead, yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. Some people don't actually watch it; they just listen. I don't know
because they want to hear our deep voices because we're so deep. But I think so. What if other than that, right? Is there any other tangible non-Oriole, favoritism going on here that you feel kind of breaks between Adley and William?
I think we practiced this like 800 times for the show. It's Adley, but okay. Anyway,
I had the E's right. Adley. Sorry. Look, people don't watch my videos because I can pronounce correctly. I know that I suck at life. Go ahead. I apologize.
Really, it's the fact that I mean, if you just rate them last year, Contreras was the better catcher overall last year. But there are concerns with him. I wrote them in the article a little bit. I'm not sure, that look, the power dropped off, right? So he hit 20 home runs and 334 at-bats in 2022. That was, I think that's a pace that's unsustainable, of course, but he dropped that rate considerably to 17 home runs and almost over 200 more plate appearances.
Yeah,
right? or at-bats. So to me, like when I see a young catcher like this, I want to see progression, right? He kind of regressed in that. Now, a lot of other things were positive, right? More at bats, more plate appearances, more runs, more RBI. He was a more consistent player overall, right? So that is great, right? And so that reliability, that availability at catcher, same thing with Rutschman, are crucial, right? So yes, easily the number 2 for me. But
real quick before we move to Rutschman, again, consistency is super huge here, and yes, the power drop off, right? Went down versus up with another 300 plate appearances, 200 so plate appearances. But what I couldn't believe, what I wasn't expecting, was the rise in average and OBP with the increase in games and average. I mean, we're talking about almost 200 some odd additional plate appearances, and he goes from a 278 average to a 289 and a 354 to 367. That's not nothing. Yeah, he dropped almost 50 points in slugging, but I'm hoping somebody who's such a professional hitter, whose walk rate stayed almost exactly the same, almost to the decimal, and he dropped his K rate by almost 7%. Mm-hmm. I'm expecting, going into his age 26 season, again, same thing as Adley. I got to think that there's going to be some extra power in that bat. But yeah, that was concerning. But man, so many other positives there that I just don't want. I want to underline with a pen there before we jumped real quick.
Yeah, and I mean, you like the positive, K rate drop. You look at Rutschman, though, it's even better, right? I mean,
Oh,
he was
absolutely.
already lower at 18, dropped it to 14.
Right.
The average isn't quite there because I don't think Rutschman has quite, at least not yet, doesn't have the power stroke that Contreras has kind of came naturally with. Rutschman is building with it. I had the stat in here. Since he's been called up, he has led all catchers in doubles, runs scored, and OBP.
Wow.
I mean, and then in 2023, he ranked top 10 in catchers in home runs, 10th, RBI 3, batting average 5th with at least 200 plate appearances. I mean, he's so good, and he's going to be behind that plate more than pretty much any other catcher right now. So, I mean, just give me that availability, plug and play. He's not going to hurt you. He's going to be a plus in a lot of categories, just no speed, but again, it's the catcher position. Realmuto is kind of the only guy. So.
And I think the other thing, I mean, again, just piling on to how amazing Rutschman is, right, look at this pool change. I mean, he dropped another 5 percentage points on his pool percentage, and he's almost 30s across the board on where he hits the ball. He's hitting it everywhere he needs to. His hard hit rate just blew up off the page. The only kind of nit you can maybe have is his barrel percentage, but I mean, that's really when you got to go down like 6 pages to find something to kind of just like, this guy needs to get this done, or he's I'm not drafting him. I mean,
again, we see a lot of guys that are coming up, right, in the first couple of seasons, the guys who have power in their bat and in their swing, they come out as double hitters, right? Manny Machado was big like that, huge doubles hitter at first, and then boom, like 40, almost 40 home runs. It does like all of a sudden just exploded. That could happen with Rutschman. You don't typically see that with catchers because there's just it's a grinding position, and so there's just for whatever reason, we don't get, Sal Perez type 48 home run seasons from catchers.
Sure. Right.
As I want to make another Sal Perez reference.
Sal Perez almost is the
but Rutschman could get up there into the 30 home run range if he starts, making, turning some of those doubles into home runs. It's just, unfortunately, that ballpark is not doing anybody any favors anymore. And so that's going to hurt.
Well, hopefully they keep bringing in the fences at Camden Yards, and that would really help Rutschman a lot. I heard some talk about bringing it right inside the infield, infield dirt. So having a fence that's about 90 feet or so from home plate would be amazing. Definitely pump up those home run numbers. Anyways,
home run.
Well, thank you so much for watching. We really appreciate it. Again, please, like, subscribe, and all those fun things as we go through the too early top 10 lists, which we will go back and make fun of ourselves here later on. Please watch our stuff. And Joe, you have any parting words for our wonderful viewers?
Nope. Just make sure you hit that subscribe, that like button, leave those comments. We appreciate it. And jump over, become a member, and join us, talk to us on Discord.
All right. Thanks so much.
See you guys.